Welcome to the Next 7 Days podcast series, where we break the season down into week-by-week segments, bringing on a new guest hunter every week that specializes in their time frame. We're starting off at September 14th and running to November 30th, covering every segment of the season, starting with early season into the October lull, into the rut and the secondary rut. So let's get ready to hunt the next 7 days. Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast, coming at you, episode 3 of the Next 7 Days series. And I wish you could hear the crowd in the background screaming, because we're covering September 28th through October 5th and that sweet, sweet October 1 opener. It is finally here for us Midwestern boys, the time to shine. What we've been waiting for all summer long, all winter long is finally here. It's the time to rip, time to get jacked up about deer season, and that is what we're going to do with this episode. Justin Hollandsworth has killed 9 bucks in the first week of October, some absolute slammers. He's on a slammer right now about to kill. As we speak, we cover his perfect setups, what the bucks are doing, how he targets a buck this early in the year. We go over food plots, acorns, bedding, cold fronts, scouting new property, dealing with hot temps. We cover a big variety of topics in this podcast, and you guys are going to enjoy it. I guarantee you. Just a little tidbit of info here. You might hear a familiar voice in this episode. This was an episode pre-recorded before Homie decided to step away from the podcast, so we get his sweet, sweet voice on here. Bebopping back and forth with mine during the episode. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Let's get into the people that make this possible. We're going to get into the show. I'm going to keep it short and sweet for you guys this week. Starting off with Exodus Outdoor Gear. If you guys are in the market for a new cell cam, look no further than the Render. Right now they have a absolute smoking hot deal for a brand new Render on their website. Some of the lowest prices I've seen all year, and you're still getting that 5-year no BS warranty right out of the rip. You put that camera up day one, you got 5 years. You can leave it out there every single day. Still getting that theft and damage coverage as well. So if you guys are in the market for a trail cam, look no further. If you're looking for that last-minute arrow switch, you got your bow out late. The MMT arrows are flying true, and I cannot wait to paint one of those white and black arrows red. Next, let's get into Afflictor broadheads. I'm going to be shooting the new K2 fixed. I did talk to you guys about their mechanical, their hybrid mechanical. I did shoot that all the way out to 45 yards. Field point accurate, really pleased with the way that broadhead was flying. But I still am going to go with that K2 fixed just because I've heard so many good things about it. But if you guys are looking in the market for a new broadhead, check out Afflictor broadheads. And see if they got anything that might pique your interest. Like I said, I'm shooting that 1 1/8 fixed blade K2. Next but not least is Next Level Deer Supplements. If you're in the market for any supplements to get some bucks in front of your trail cameras, give them the best nutrition possible, Next Level Deer Supplements is your go-to. Check them out at nextleveldeersupplements.com. All right, guys, let's get into this episode and get ready to hunt the next 7 days with Justin Hollandsworth. Here we go.
All right, we got one of our favorite ever guests coming to grace us with this present tonight. How you doing tonight, Justin?
Good. I'm great. How are you guys?
Doing good, man. I appreciate you coming on and recording this episode with us. We were trying to think about who was the absolute best guy we know at that really tough October, 1st of October time period, and me and Homie both are like, man, we know who's in that spot to fill this void that we need, and it was you. So we'll get right into this, but I'm sure everybody that's listening to this probably knows who you are, but just do a brief introduction of who you are and maybe some of your success in October.
I'm Justin Hollandsworth, born and raised in Ohio. I've kind of hunted a little bit all over, mostly Midwest. Like a lot of guys, just started hunting, started bow hunting when I was a kid. And then just, like we all do, and kind of progress over the years and try to fine tune our skills and try to, adapt to every situation a little bit better. But probably, I don't know, I probably, probably, I guess, known or whatever you want to call it, being part of, Lone Wolf for the last probably 20 years and being good friends with the DeQuistos and using their products. And I think that's probably helped me out a lot along the way, and being able to put that equipment to use. I think that's really helped me over the years. But I guess fast forward, I've just kind of fine tuned it over the years, where probably the first 2 weeks of season are probably that's my bread and butter.
Yeah, we're always like, all right, if something's about the 8th, he'll have one dead already. we'll see the post that something's dead. I know.
I think I've killed 4. I think I've killed 4 on the 8th.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I know that was your day. I'm like, okay, the 8th. That's his day. I'm waiting on the 8th. That's going to be the slam dunk. But I know this last season you were all over that deer in October and just gave you the slip a little bit there for the first while. But you end up closing the deal on him anyways. This took a little longer than normal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I should have killed him on the second night of season. I was at full draw.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just too late.
Yeah.
That's crazy because about October 8th is when I feel like, you're going into season, you're all hyped up, you're all jacked up. Hopefully you got one close, and then you go in there a time or two maybe. And then by about October 8th, the hopes and dreams start going down. I'm like, shit, he's changed. Like, I got to get back on square one and start moving around for him again. So it's crazy that you've had that much success in the first 8 days there.
I tell you what, over the years, I still think it's so stupid that outdoor writers actually put out that there's an October lull years ago. I just think that is, I think that's probably detoured a lot of people over the years from not hunting. Maybe they get after it for the first 5 days of season, and then they back off, and then they don't get back after it heavy until late October. God, I just think you're missing some of the best days of season when you do that. I think from the 1st to the 15th are the best days of the year.
I agree.
I've got 2 on the 15th, and I got 1 on the 8th. So the 8th is coming in strong right here.
There you go.
So in the last,
I love that day.
6 or 7 years, I got 2. Homie's got 1 on the 1st, bro. Right off the rip.
Just one.
Yeah. Plus
I got 1
on 23rd and 25th.
Yeah. Hell yeah. But all right, well, we're gonna get right into this. We're talking about that first week of October. Like you said, a lot of people they might hunt a couple days, and they're like, they make up a lot of excuses that time of year that they're not out there hunting. We're going to cover a lot of those excuses in this episode. But for you, what is the absolute perfect setup that you would want for that first week of October? If you could pick a buck to be doing anything, what would you want him to be doing?
If I could pick one situation and what he's doing the first week of season, it would be is showing up on, it doesn't matter what kind of food source it is, but showing up at either right before, it just depends. It depends on if it's a morning or an evening for me. And it depends a little bit too. The moon doesn't dictate whether or not I hunt or not, but it dictates where I'm going to position myself, if that makes sense. So it depends on what the deer is doing as far as like if he's about to crack daylight or he is cracking daylight, and that's preferably on a food source. Because I mean, a whitetail is it's food. I mean, all the time until last part of October. I mean, up to that point, that's what I'm looking for. And it's whether that be from an observation of either putting some glass on him and figuring that part of it out, or from a camera standpoint and seeing that. That is the perfect situation for me. If I see a deer about to crack daylight, or at last light on a food source, sometimes I think we're our own worst enemy, and trying to play it too safe and wait till later in the year when we think they're going to get a little squirrely, and wait till the end of October or something like that to catch up to them. I think why not go in and get aggressive and get on them right away? And if you screwed up, who cares? You got plenty of time to recover.
All right. Well, that drives us right into our second question here. What does it take for you to go in there for the kill on the buck? Is it, one trail cam picture of him in daylight? Is it a couple? Is it one encounter on the field that you see him in daylight before season? What's it take for you to pull the trigger on that early of a hunt?
One time,
whether it's a trail cam or an actual visual sighting, one time in daylight or close to daylight, you're going to go in there and give it a shot.
One time, I'll say this. So one time with the same wind. If it's going to completely switch, like say he just showed up and broke daylight, but the following day the wind's going to be different. That might hold me back from making that move. But if I look and I see it's going to be exactly the same, then you just got to try it. I mean, we're our biggest enemy. I know for a fact that I've missed out on plenty of big deer over the years because I've literally talked myself out of something.
Yeah, I feel like we've done that too. Early season, you're trying to make the decision. I really like the wind, bringing up the wind there. That is something that, if it switches, you'd be like, man, he was there last night. That would be a huge factor. But if you could make it work, you would want to try. But that would be a hard one to pull. But that would definitely be something that you would want to look at, especially if, like you said, it's the complete opposite. He's probably not going to he's not going to enter the field at least at the same spot, you wouldn't think. And that's going to be, could be a devastating hunt right off the rip there.
Well, the other part of that too is, so say you take that gamble and you go in there on a different wind, and maybe the deer comes from a completely different direction that you're not expecting. Or the worst possible thing that could happen is you set in there and he doesn't show up. Now you climb down and he cracks you leaving. Now it's just twice as hard. And now it is going to take some time to recover. But I would be, if the wind stays the same and I go in there and say that plays out and he does crack me, I don't know. I'm better with that because at least I tried it. At least I went for it.
It wasn't it wasn't an error on your part. It was just you had shit luck. It wasn't you went in there on the wrong wind and made a mistake. It was he cracked you getting down. It's dark. Really nothing you can do. But if, like you said, if he cracks you off the wrong wind, smells you or sees you, I think just what I've seen over the last few years that I've really been getting into it is it seems like if they see you, they really will bug out. If they smell you, you might have another shot at them. It's definitely not good, but if they actually visually see you, hear you, get down or whatever, I feel like you're in trouble at that point, like you said.
I tell you what, if they see you and smell you, you get your hands full, because if they get both of those two things, I've said this for years, you could take 50 people and put them in one room And if you put your blind dog in that room, your blind dog is going to find you. You cannot tell me that deer does not know your scent now.
Yeah.
And he knows that's danger. And so I just got a feeling that if you got cracked by him smelling and seeing you, you got your work cut out for you, especially early season anyway.
Yeah, for early season.
Mm-hmm.
So having said what you've said so far, Justin, I think I know what your answer is going to be, but you're not going to hesitate to go in after a buck in the morning in the first week of October here?
No, I would go in for sure. I just think that it's just real easy to talk yourself out of it in an early part of season, because you always think in your mind that you can play it safe. And, you hear a lot of guys, the old like spokes of a wheel or a rim, and starting on the outside and like kind of just like slowly working your way in. I think there's a time and a place for it. And I think sometimes early season, it can be that. But I think over the years, one thing that I've came to the realization is that if a deer does something and you don't jump on it the next day from either seeing it on a trail camera or an observation, and you got the wind, make a move and go for it. And if you screw it up, who cares? You got a lot of season to make it up. And then you can bounce around. But the biggest thing, I mean, you got to stay mobile and be willing to not get lazy and adapt, to whatever situation you get thrown at you.
Yeah, that's one reason we wanted to break this series down in weeks, because during that time period of the year, especially, a week is like a century for how you're hunting these things. I mean, they're making so many moves that early in the season. It's like, okay, they're on the food. Now they're off the food. Now they're, on the acorns. Now they're off the acorns. Now they're in the dough. It's like a boom, 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 boom. And it's, like you said, if you miss that opportunity right off the rip and you don't take advantage of it, just like Homie's buck last year, if we would have been like, man, he's here, if we play it safe, well, it's hot today, it's supposed to rain. Like, there's a lot of excuses, but he went in there as tight as he did and he ended up killing them. If we would have missed that opportunity, like we seen last year, we were on a giant, hunting him, and then, not even a week after we find him, he's dead. So you don't have a lot of time sometimes to even be able to kill the deer without someone else killing them also. So you got to strike when the iron's hot.
For sure. And I mean, that's the other situation that, you just threw out there. So, outside pressure, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're hunting. It doesn't matter if you're hunting private or if you're hunting public. I mean, there's always other pressure besides you. And those are always other things that you got to throw, into the mix. I was in that situation last year where I knew a neighbor that was right over by me, and he was hunting right on the fence row. He actually cut some trees down to shoot into my field over there. And you just gotta be aware of everything that's going around you as much as you possibly can. And maybe that's even on a night that you don't hunt. Maybe you take a drive just to see where other trucks are parked and get a feel for, maybe what else you're dealing with in that area. Maybe it's nothing, or maybe there's pound in it. So that sometimes will make me get more aggressive. Knowing those types of things, sometimes where, if I know other guys are pounding ground all around me, then, that sometimes will just make me just go for broke. And if I screw it up, it's like, who cares? You know, like whatever. Like, but the other part of that too is I don't like being. I mean, I'll hunt one particular deer most of the time, but man, I hate to get in that situation anymore. I like to have, you know, I would prefer to have 2 or 3 that, you know, if they walked in front of me, I would release an arrow on and be completely happy with. Now, I think over time, guys get a little more picky, and I know that I definitely have over the years. I mean, everybody's got their different level of you know, or caliber, whatever you want to call it, of an animal that they're after. And maybe it's an age class, or maybe it's a, you know, antler size, or whatever it is, whatever trips your trigger. That sometimes too will factor into, you know, maybe you found, you know, 5 140s and 150s, and you got one that's 180. And well, you know what we all tend to do? We're going to chase the 180. You know, that's just, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So that sometimes throws a little, you know, wrench in the spokes a little bit when that comes about. But you also have to be active on other pieces, or you know, checking cameras and glassing, and because you never know when something else might move into a spot. You know, especially when they start to transition from, you know, that velvet to, you know, early season. I mean, I've had plenty of deer that did not summer on me all year long. And I literally, from, you know, keeping some detailed trail camera records, sat back and waited and kept my fingers crossed and hoped that these particular bucks that I was, you know, wanting to show up, and they show up. And that right there, I like that more than anything, because if I know of a particular deer and I'm just waiting on them to show up in a particular spot in early season, I know for a fact of anything that I've done on that place, they have not, we've not ran into each other. So as soon as they move in,
they're fresh.
They're fresh. You go in and you kill them. I've had really good luck with that, and just making, you know, they pop up on a camera or whatever, and I went in the very next day. You know, they pop up in that camera for the first time all year, and then I went right back and I went in that very next day and I've killed them. Right, you know, they showed up one day, I killed them the next.
All right, before we get in the woods,
I really like that tactic. I think that is something I think that's something that I'm really gonna put in my bag of tricks there, because I really like that approach to it. That buck's fresh in your area. He's still trying to get everything lined out and around. So he is probably the most vulnerable there, I would say, for the first 2 to 3 days. And if you got a pretty good idea from previous years of history with him, you can definitely make a very educated move and get in on him.
You nailed it right there, because he's super vulnerable at that point, because he's back into that property and he's trying to make his rounds and figure out what's going on. If there's other bucks in there to compete against, where the does are at, he's going to lay down some sign, let everybody know he's back in town. And I think it's almost, I mean, it could be the first week of October, but they're almost like pre-rut. Kind of they have that vibe to them, and their guards down. And I think they're very vulnerable.
All right, well, let's get into these would you rather. I'm trying to break up the middle here, make it a little less tactic, a little more fun here. All right, so you got a white hot acorn flat or a prime food plot. What are you going to?
I guess the situation. I guess it's what kind of terrain that I'm hunting. If I'm hunting big woods or something like that, I don't know. Those acorns are freaking, they're like candy, man.
I know, it's a tough one. That's a tough one.
It is, yeah.
But on the food plot side of things, it's it'd have to be exactly what you planted, in that particular area and what kind of access that do you have to go in and out of it. I don't know. I like food plots. I do a lot of food. I'm always looking at
I
food
think
plots.
I would rather pick a food plot, especially if there was a buck that was close, because like you said, you probably have a better wind on that food plot. You probably have a better idea where that buck's going to come in. You're not in the middle of the timber. And like you said, you also have some better access to get there more than likely if you set it up to hunt.
Yeah.
All right. So you got a buck hitting a scrape, or you know where a buck is bedding. What's your go-to there? Bedding.
100%. If you know where he if you know where he beds, I mean it's a done deal. All you got to do is be smart enough to realize and understand and read sign of where he's wanting to go and feed. I mean, if you got his bed, to me that could be like taking candy from a baby.
All right. Target buck or a random buck that's 10 inches bigger.
So are you talking a 180 or a 190? Or a 190 or 200? Or are you talking a 140 or 150? Let's see, that's all over the place.
Yeah. That's a tough one, but I mean, you got a target buck. You've been targeting for a couple years. Let's just say he's like 165, right? He's real solid, real good. And that's what you're guessing, because you don't know exactly what it is. So he could be a little bigger, a little smaller. And then you got a buck that just randomly showed up that's 10 inch. You're thinking it's 10 inches bigger. What are you going with? Are you going to target and they're both, you feel like they're both killable. They're both the same killable.
Man, I love shooting bucks that I got history with. That kind of really, I don't know. But 165 or 175? I'm shooting 175.
I know. I'm right there with you. I was
spoon's a great spoon, man.
I'm like, if they're both killable, I'm like, I'll in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna kill the random buck because I don't have any data on him. My target buck, I probably got data that I could kill him later in the year, and that'll be my second buck.
Oh yeah. See, and you guys got a little different mindset because you're in Illinois, so you get 2 buck tags. So my mindset is here in Ohio, and we got 1 buck tag. So it's like when you're done, and that's it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, sometimes. But
your target buck, if he lives, you got a lot of data to kill him next year, and he could be bigger. So I mean, you got some pros there. I'm thinking deep into these would you rather's when I'm writing it down. All right, homie, hit him with the last one. You got the last one?
Cold front's coming in. Yeah, I got it. Cold front coming in or a low pressure area?
Cold front, but the day after a cold front.
Yeah.
I prefer, a lot of guys like a cold front, and they like, I don't know, I've heard that before, guys like to hunt the front end of a cold front as one's coming in, but the day after cold front, when the pressure's, when you got high pressure, is much better in my experience.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I've been out there when it's real crappy, and when you get that front, you normally get some rain, and it's just real kind of foggy and crappy, and you're out there like, oh, this is it, and then you don't see anything, and you're like, God, that was a giant waste. Now all your shit's wet. You got to restart. But go ahead, homie, I interrupt you. What you got going on there?
Oh no, it's just like when that front does come in, it's like they need that night to get up and keep moving later in the morning for the next day. And that's kind of the trend we're seeing after talking to, everybody on the show is everybody's leaning more towards that day after that cold front hits.
It's almost as if like that front comes in, they get really, I don't know, it's like the deer movement gets like really stagnant, and it's just slow. And they're laying on their bellies, and they're just waiting for everything to go by. And then it's almost like they got let out of recess or something the next day, and they're excited to be out running around. And And I mean, it's nuts the day after that, because then you just see, I mean, you see deer all over the place. I mean, so I definitely prefer the day after a front for sure.
All right, getting back into our next questions here. Still talking about that first week. I know last year we kind of had the cool connection with you. We got to see some pictures of the buck that you actually end up killing early, and you kind of found him a little later in the season. So this is, you just pick up a new property. You got no scouting on it. What are you going to do? It's the 1st of October, first week of October. What's your plan?
1st of October, I might set back for a day. Well, something happened here. New property, just got access to it. I might set back for a day and watch it, and just observe it. But I hate not knowing what's going on a property, and I might just go walk the whole thing, and I might just go in and try to bump some deer, see where the deer are bedding, see how they're traveling, maybe jump a good buck, whatever. But I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna walk every bit of it, to be honest with you. They'll move back in. You can't burn a big deer out of his bed. They bed there for a reason, and just because I learned this a long time ago that through trial and error, that you can bump them and they're right back in there the next day. So I would rather know I would like to know the way the land lays. I would like to know what's going on with the sign, and even hopefully get a visual of a big one getting up. Then that's when I start my hunt.
Okay, right on. That's probably what I would do too. I'm terrible about one more hill. We got to see what's going on over there. I got to know. I got to know what's up this ridge. It's terrible. And then you're 7 miles deep, and you plan on going a mile. That's normally how we roll too.
But after talking to you guys like you, Heath, Byron, the guys that are out there scouting, like the last 2 years, we've kind of shifted more to more scouting during season. And like 3 years ago, absolutely not. Like, staying the hell out of there. But I feel like the last 2 years, we really have done more in-season scouting, especially with the stands on our back, as we have an endpoint. And if we get hung up on some hot, good-looking stuff before that, we're going to set up there if we think it's right. And I think that's really helped us have better odds and better hunts the last 2 years.
I think you nailed it. I think you're on it. When you're doing that, and you got your gear on your back and you're in there and getting on the latest and freshest sign, I think, and you're set and you have everything to get set up and make a move on one. I think that's, I don't know. I think it's crazy. Like, a lot of these guys are still hunting these ladder stands and stuff like that. Like, and get so stationary in these spots. Like, you have to be, on the move.
Yeah, we burned ourselves a couple of years ago. We had some mobile stuff, wasn't very good, and then we went and pulled cams for some reason, and then went back to the truck and got all of our stuff. And that was like the light switch to be like, if we just had all of our shit on our back the whole entire time, instead of leaving and then going back in there again, like, you're sneaking in to get the cam, now you got to sneak in there a second time. You could have just set up and been ready, like it. And now we're going back to the truck, getting our stuff, getting more sweaty, now going back in again. Just bring all your shit, I don't think we pull cams without if we pull cams without a stand on our back, it's because we strictly went out there to pull cams and like, we're
no
not hunting
intention
that
of
day.
hunting. Yeah.
There's no, it's just like throw all your shit on, pull this cam on the way, go to where you're hunting, you know, looking for sign. But like you said, I think a lot of guys are so staged up on, like you said, an area, spot, and they're missing out on all the opportunities of just seeing other ground because you're going to a different area, you know?
Well, you think about it. So say you're, you know, in some kind of special forces or Navy SEAL or whatever you might be, like, you think those guys go into combat without not having like all their shit together and everything. Like, I mean, when you're going after a big deer, I mean, you want to have everything set a certain way and be very methodical about your gear, your approach. And I mean, it's like when you get one under, you know, when one gets underneath your skin, it's like you're coming back and you're preparing for war. And you want to make sure that if you run into what you think that you might run into, whether that whatever kind of sign that is, you want to be prepared for it. And you want to be able to make a move right then and there and not jack around and go back to the truck and go and get this and get that. And heck, who knows? It might take you to the next day before you get back in there. Now your opportunity's blown because of you know what you were doing before in there, and now that deer, you know, maybe you missed him, you know, maybe you messed him up a little bit, and now he's not going to do what he was doing.
Yeah, I agree. I've come back to a hunt where a lot of times our season starts on Friday for shotgun season, and I wasn't able to take off work. So I was going to go pull a cam to see where I was going to set that next morning. Went in there to pull the cam, didn't stop by and get my gun on that home. And then here comes a giant chasing a doe and literally 10 yards from me. And I'm like, I could literally be tagged out right now and hunted for 5 minutes. Not even got to the trail cam yet, but I didn't take the 10 minutes to stop at home and grab the gun and go out there. I was just like, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to grab that cam. It's right on the edge. Probably no deer there. I'll grab it. I'll look, see what's been there, and then I'll decide where I'm going to hunt from there. If I would have just been prepared to kill while I went out there, I would have killed that deer.
For sure.
And would have, you know, been bucked out that year. So definitely, like you said, if you're going to go in the woods and any mindset of I'm probably going to hunt tonight, just take all your shit and be ready. That's why, like you said, we got what I consider the best gear, same gear you're running. We both bucked up and said, hey, you know, this is a lifetime purchase for us. We're going to be doing this. We're spending the money. We're getting the best there is. We're not messing around. And I'm more than happy with mine. I was like, what do I need, dude? What is the setup that I need? And you're like, this. I'm like, all right, that's it. I bought it all. I was like, okay, that's everything. I got it all. So the only thing I'll throw on there, which a lot of people probably think is dumb, if you're gonna be a mobile hunter, you got to get a bino harness and not carry binos in it, and just carry your straps and shit.
And then all day sits, put the fucking snacks right in there.
Yeah. All day sits. You got the audio in there, the snacks in there. Everything's right here. Your straps when you're climbing are right here. And then you got to have a guy with you that you're like, hey man, let me borrow your binos. And then you don't have to carry binos. It's a win-win.
We figured out that we figured out that problem. Did you see our new little backpack that goes underneath the stand?
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could that thing. You can throw everything in there. Your straps, your range finder. Like, I mean, Cody's got everything but the kitchen sink in that thing.
I know. I see that picture. I was like, shit, dude, there's a ton of stuff in that thing. One thing I will shout out is that bow holder is a lifesaver. You don't realize how much a pain in the ass screwing in a bow hook is until you have that thing, and you're like, okay, I'm good. Like, it's right there. But
how many times have you guys put a bow hanger in a tree, and because of the situation and where it had to go or whatever, and you had to reach for a bow like up high or too far to the right or too far to the left or whatever, like I've gotten cracked by other deer before, reaching for a bow or whatever. And having that off to the side like that now, I put mine on my seat.
Right there beside you.
A lot of guys put it down on the platform, but I put mine over on the seat because I'm always self-filming. So I'm a left-handed shooter. So the one problem with that is all the screens are on the left side of the camera. So I'm forced to set it up on the right hand side. So I take my bow and I put it on my seat, and then it makes the bow set kind of forward in front of me. So when a deer comes in, I'm able to reach up, turn my camera on, and then take my left hand and put it on the bow and take it out of that, move my camera into place, and then I switch hands and then get on the deer. But it cuts down on a lot of movement.
And one thing with us is we have 2 tree stands up there. And so we have 4 straps for that. We have camera arm, and then each of us have a book bag or some sort of bag. And then now you're trying to throw a bow in the tree that, is, you can hug around. And it's just too much shit. Somebody's getting stabbed with a broadhead. Like having that thing up there is perfect. It's away from the tree and gives everybody a little bit more breathing room.
If you can go out there and hang a bow hook in the right spot, first rip, you're a pro, bro. It's like the third try for me. Hang it up, set down. Nah, that's shit. And I got to move it. And I move it. I'm like, yeah, that's a little better, but it needs to be right here. And then about the third screw, I get one. And I don't know what they make those bow hooks out of. They got to make a sharper bow hook. I'm not a weak guy, but man, they're hard to get in the tree.
There's one by what the hell is that company name? Easy Crane or something? Something Crane, I thought. That is the sharp. That I swear to God, you barely been pressing that thing, and it could be, you could be setting in a freaking honey locust as hard as a rock, and that thing just goes in like butter.
Man, yeah, that would be good to invest in too. Just be able to hang your backpack and shit too, because man, it's just like
it's all I have.
It's hard to get in there. Homie's seen the bow hook that I got. This is the best one I got. It was in a tree for about 4 years, and I repurposed it. It's like a thing that you would hold a fishing rod in your garage. It's not even a bow hook. Sucker is solid.
We hung the stands just perfect. Ain't nothing been in that tree for 6 years. We hang in it and go up there, and Cody's like, "Oh shit, bow hook's already in here from the last time."
I was like,
that's perfect.
Bow hook from 6 years ago.
That is nice.
I was just like,
I'll find a link to that, and I'm gonna send that to you guys.
Okay, I need a solid one, because the ones I got are junk. They're junk, but
you'll love these. These guys it's just a small little company. They don't endorse anybody. They won't sponsor anybody. They're just man, those are whatever they're doing with those threads, they got it down. They do. I swear, it is like you don't have to put any pressure on it at all. It just goes right in.
Nice. All right, well, last topic here, and we'll let you go. Like you were stating earlier, people come up with a lot of excuses this time of year not to hunt, let alone go after the target buck. And I feel like this is the biggest, the biggest excuse is you got hot temps. What do you do?
Say that again.
You got hot temperatures.
No,
you got hot temperatures. What do you do?
Well, I've shot 2 different bucks when it's been like upper 80s. I passed up a deer a few years ago that I killed the following year. It was 91. That day, I don't know. The deer, sometimes in those cases, like, I'll try to get on some water, find a little water hole, that's leading out from where I'm suspecting them bedding to some food. I might set over that. Sometimes when it's, I don't know, but then there's other times your gut is like, like it's way too hot. Like I'm probably better sitting back and waiting. But say you're out of state, and it's early season, and you only got 3 or 4 days, then I don't know. I'm going to try to get tight right up on those bedding, on what I think might be their bedding area, because there's going to be a lot of foliage at that time of the year. You're going to be able to, the ground's, it's going to be, you're not going to be dealing with all those, crunchy leaves that sound like potato chips as you're rolling through there. I mean, you're going to be able to slide in, get tight on them, and use that, that foliage as your cover, and slide in. And I don't like to go and hunt very high then. I will try to hunt, anywhere between 5 to 10 feet off the ground at that point. That kind of keeps me in the cover a little bit. And and a lot of times too, if you got a trail that maybe there's a big primary scrape or something like that on, they still want to go nosing around those things, and on their way out to feed. But the movement's going to be really late in the evenings, and I probably wouldn't hunt a morning then, because of how much sooner they're going to be back to bed.
Yeah, we killed, homie, the second buck we killed. What was the temp? I know there's ladybugs flying and it was hot, and I was in a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm. It had to be 82, 83. It was in the 80s.
And we did exactly what you said. Went in, tight to a bedding area next to water, and that buck come out and drank water for a minute. Had his head down in the water, drinking for like a minute and a half straight. Just drink. And we were right there. But
if you can find that situation, and if you know of a good buck and it's hot like that, and you think you can get on them on, somewhat a water hole or something like that, I tend to see them like that. I don't know why. I've always wondered about this, but I don't see them like to drink out of flowing water as much as they do out of a little, like a seep, or or just a little natural water hole that's just holding water or whatever. I don't know why, but I don't see them drink out of, creeks and stuff like that as much. But those little tiny water holes that you can find can be pretty killer. I actually just built one on, I bought 75 acres here not too long ago, and I put a water hole in purposely, that leads from a big bedding flat. There's 2 big points, and on those points, there's a little opening back in there. So what I did is I went back in there and I killed everything, tilled everything, and then planted switchgrass and blue stem back there, so I can get them to bed on those flats. And in that switch on the way on back there, there's a little logging trail that the gap, because there's a gas line on that property that leads out to like a 2 acre, what I'm going to put into a 2 acre food plot. So, and it probably stretches anywhere between 500 to 800 yards. And what I did there is then I planted clover and chicory all the way down it, leading up to that big food plot. But as halfway in between there's a natural water hole that I found over there. And I thought, boy, this would play out perfect, because there's no water up top, and they come down off those flats or that switch, and they work their way down. There's a real good chance they're going to feed along on that clover and chicory and maybe hit this water hole before they head out into those, those open feed plots for the evening. So I kind of purposely designed it with a purpose, with a certain winds in mind, and a certain access to where I can kind of vertically come down the side of this hill and use that hill as my cover to pop into that tree to overlook that water hole and that strip of clover and chicory.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Perfect setup. But yeah, that's like you said, I feel like that this time of year, people have a lot of excuses why they're not hunting. And I feel like a lot of people are just waiting later in the year when they think it's going to be better. But the main reason I wanted to have you on, you've had so much success, and I know that you'd be the type of guy to say, don't wait. You're missing up on your opportunity. If you got something popping, go after it. If there's anything else you could say to the listeners about this time period, what would it be?
Don't be your worst enemy as far as making a move on a deer in the early part of the year. I know it's really easy to sit back and try to play the patient, the patient game. To me, I think a lot of guys are making mistakes. I think I've killed, if I look around here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've killed 9 bucks in the first probably 2 weeks of season. And all those deer, almost every single one of them was the first time in, and it was all based off of either an observation or from either glass or from a trail camera. And there's some bucks too that I didn't kill because I got aggressive and something didn't quite go right, or the deer didn't show up that night, whatever. But I would say you're going to run an 80% chance you're going to kill that deer in the first 2 sets.
Nice. Well, like always, awesome guest. Appreciate you coming on again to the show. Hopefully it's not the last time we can bug you over the years here. Always think of something clicks in our head when we talk to you. So we appreciate you coming on.
You guys can have me on anytime you guys want, man. I always like hanging out with you guys.
Well, that is a wrap for episode 3 of the Next 7 Days series. I know there is some information in here that you guys gain that hopefully gets you on that buck early in the season here. This is a really good time to kill those big bucks. If you could get one patterned and get in there and get on them, it is time to rip. I hope you guys are really excited for season. Appreciate you tuning in this podcast. The numbers are doing great. You guys are leaving the reviews. I appreciate that more than you know. If you do have a second, please leave me a review. Let me know what you think about the season, and that would help me out greatly. Appreciate all the messages I'm getting about the series and just hunting in general. A lot of questions coming in. People getting fired up for deer season. Get out there, man. Run those cams, make the moves, and try to make it happen. I believe this is going to be the best whitetail season you ever had. Appreciate you listening to this all the way to the end. Like we always say, try to do the right thing. Try to leave a legacy. And Whitetail Legacy is out to be coming in you ear holes next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time with episode 4 of the Next 7 Days.